So you ask, what am I going to pursue when I get down on my knees? I'm asking please back in the day, and now I feel like I'm at ease.
Welcome to the Alive and Aligned podcast, a show dedicated to helping you live a life of truth and share your fullest gifts with the world. I'm your host, Pete Byrne, and I'm here to open your mind to new perspectives, to introduce you to some epic humans who are already out there living their deepest truth. So now just grounding in, taking a breath, letting go of anything you're still holding on to from today, and just opening up to receiving this episode now. Let's dive on in. Marc Laws II is a yoga teacher, an ex-professional football player, a father, a husband, and an absolute pillar of wisdom. He is a man driven by self-discovery as he explores what does it really mean to play on the playground of this earth. After being scouted from the USA at a young age to play professional football in England, he's developed a deep love for the philosophies of soccer and had the experience of diligent training and practice versus the high-intensity experience of game time is a metaphor for life. Marc's sporting and philosophical passion for soccer later developed into a discovery and a love of yogic philosophies and yoga as a modality of movement and of deep self-inquiry. In this episode, Marc and I crack out the Chinese tea leaves and embark on a journey into what does it really mean to curiously explore this human existence with both ancient philosophical wisdom and deep, hearty laughs and dad jokes present in the episode. In this podcast, we explore the transformation from boy to man to father and how Marc had to let parts of him die to allow new parts to grow. What are the similarities between playing professional football in the UK and ancient yogic philosophies? What does it really mean to be seen and to matter? What is the influence that technology could play on our future generations and how this technological evolution could be a new path to enlightenment? How do traditions of Bali, the island that we live on, integrate both shadow work and light into part of their daily life? And we also discuss the evolution of music and what is truly original in this world anymore. This episode is a deep philosophical journey mixed with a healthy dose of slapstick humor. I hope you enjoy it very, very much. Mr. Laws, welcome to the Alive and Aligned podcast. How are you today?
I'm awesome, man. Thank you for having me. Find it really special to be able to sit down with you because this is going to probably be one of the first times we actually get to catch up one-to-one, and we're doing it like this.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's nearly a year ago that you gifted me a tea set for my birthday, or like a tea, how do you call it, like a pack of tea?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, a pack of tea, like, but not just like English breakfast, like legit, like the good stuff, like Chinese OG tea.
Yeah, some like pu'er and some sit down in almost ceremony, and so
yeah,
we're getting a chance to drink it today.
And yeah, we're here with a full tea set in front of us. For those of you without eyes on this, it's quite a sight, and we're gonna get to sample and see what happens.
Yes.
What mystic spirits are hiding.
That's
in the
right,
tea.
man. The spirit of the tea.
What does it mean? Because I know this is like, I've only like 2 or 3 people I know who are like very, we'll say, passionate about like tea ceremony, and I've experienced a few. I was leading a men's retreat in Ukraine, and one of the guys brought his tea set, and I found it was a really nice entry point for people who are maybe averse to intense circle dynamics or like very deep stuff, as a way to just sit around, as men might do with beers or something. It's like a different way that's more, at least for me, it's felt more, just like wholesome and fulfilling and less toxic. How is it for you as a tea ceremonialist?
Yeah, I think that's right, man. I'm a huge advocate of things that bring people together, and there's something about, because like you said, like over beers and things like that, we kick back, we communicate, we unwind, and in the spirit of tea, or in the culture of tea, from what I've gathered so far, is the tea house was a place to come and you just shed your costume. So, like we all take our costumes seriously, we put on our clothes and we're like, this is what I am. And so it's an opportunity just to be level with everybody and just be like soul to soul conversations. And, the tea kind of creates that vessel to have that type of connection. And I think the beautiful thing about tea as well is, there's studies about, holding a warm beverage and having a conversation with someone, and it kind of heightens the experience and connection for people. And so tea just happens to have that element. And they talk about, you know, even in the elements of tea, is like all the elements are there. So it's like an alchemy, and we get to sip even the conversation of what the tea leaves have to offer to us, and then we get to communicate with it. So it's like we have another party joining us, and it's very
Yeah, we get to
I like
read
it.
the leaves after. What's the line in the future?
Right? But I love that aspect of just, you know, sitting down and having a ritual around conversation, and it's very mindful. I think that's my favorite part about
When
it.
you're in the right place.
That's right,
We're
bro.
doing it just with microphones.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Which is a funny thing in its own, you know, to know that you're being watched or listened to.
Stop watching us, guys. Leave us alone. We're just trying to drink
Cheers,
our tea.
bro.
Cheers.
Happy birthday. For the last one and the one to come.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Like
so
it.
We might be slurping in your guys' ears every once in a while. Or get your tea if you have some as well.
Yeah.
Join us.
Yeah, get involved. You mentioned there, I love that, this idea of like taking off the cloak or the mask or the costume. And I think that's a really good like premise for this as a conversation. So firstly, how would you describe your avatar to the world, or how others might see you, or like, you know, your elevator pitch of who you are before we get into who you really are?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? Because it's like I see myself through the lens, and then there's people that describe what they see from the outside. And then there's a part of me that would describe myself as like, I'll let you know when I'm finished, so you can like read about me, because I'll be gone already, and then we'll have the full definition of who Marc Laws was. But in the meantime,
Still a work in progress.
bro, I'm
Loading.
telling you, I'm defining this name as we speak. But you know, as far as I know myself now, is if I look back on my life, there's definitely a core of just like I was saying earlier, just like connection and you know, I see this life as at least lucky enough to be in this position in life, to see this life as a playground of just like, what do I want to do with this incredible opportunity that's been left with me via my ancestors and all the history before me, and being born to my family that like have done so much work with themselves, in terms of like the family karma that they had to deal with, and then what they left for me and my brothers. And so I get to build on top of that. And so it gave me a lot of freedom, like creative freedom, where I'm not continually coming from a place of lack, but a place of like possibility and what do I want to bring into this world. And so where that left me is like, what's the potential of this body? You know, what can I actually do with it? And who knows out there, what have people done before me? And, you know, how can I really enjoy it to the fullest and have deep connections and incredible memories and just have a lot of fun, because I feel like that has a way of leaving stardust, you know, all these incredible things, like going to your show, like how many people that touched, including me, and it's just like, it leaves the stardust of just like, it affects us, and then it affects the next generation because that affected me now. So I'm going to make different decisions in that moment because I've been enlightened by someone else's creativity.
Because you saw me jumping around stage in a wacky costume.
Yeah, that was epic. But not only that, bro, I was telling you, I sent you a text. I was just like, my favorite part was literally while something was happening on stage, you were there like doing the music, or you were just watching the crowd, and your face like lit up like a child of just like how happy everyone was.
Yeah.
And it was like in the sharing that you got the most reward.
Yeah,
And
totally.
that filled me up, man. I was just like,
yeah, I was having a conversation during the week about this concept of like the artist, okay, and like the artist for me is uncovering is like the point. You know, it's kind of like you could say who I am, and then there's all these other things I'm doing, which is like helping others and serving and creating and getting paid, you know, over here. But it's like ultimately it's like the masculine and feminine, you know. So over here I'm recognizing like this is the truth of who I am. And a part of me is like, well, why do I want to do that? Well, like, it's like, well, why? What's the point? Like, why should it? Like, what is the point? What's the point of it all? You know, it's very deep to get into 5 minutes into the fucking episode. But like, what's the point of it all? But it's like, that is the point. It's just those moments of like, as you said, like creating and distributing the stardust and being able to like watch that process and catch those moments and have presence in those moments.
Yeah.
It's just like, ooh.
that definitely feels the most true to me. It is those moments. That's what life is about. You know, nothing means more to me than like that essence of just feeling just feeling love, you know, and love can be through someone's creation of just like, because they love it so much, I get to witness it, and then it literally speaks to my soul, whether that person knows I'm watching them or not. And I think that's super magical, and it seems to be universal as far as I know in my small narrow view.
Yeah. Let's get a top up here.
Keep your cup close, brother. But yeah, I guess that's how I see myself, and I suppose what people might think of me is, I don't know, there's been all kinds of stories about me in the past, but
Depends who, yeah.
yeah, right, exactly. But I remember a girl I used to date for my birthday. She had friends just write a little something about like how they feel about me, and that was beautiful to read. Of just like, I guess realizing how people were moved by or witnessing me finding the joy in sharing and being there to listen and, you know, be of support, because that also gives me like tremendous joy to be. I think it's an honor for people to share some of their most intimate and vulnerable spaces, because that's like the truth. And to be in that position, I'm just like, wow, like we've built such a beautiful rapport that we can have these conversations and be truly connected, soul to soul, or our friends, whatever we want to call it. And that meant a lot to me, you know. And so I know that people see me like that, and I would like people to see me like that as well. That's my intention. But also there's like, you know, other aspects of, you know, I think a lot of people think like, oh, Mark, you're really smooth and calm and collected, and you always seem quite balanced. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, sometimes, but do understand that there's some storms going on inside sometimes, and
Sure.
maybe it's not let out, but, you know, my goal would be to have like those inner storms that I see that no one else sees, to be like eventually just at peace and mastered.
Yes.
That's what I'd like to do in this lifetime.
Wow. So getting to a point where the inner and outer storms, but more specifically it sounds the inner storms, get to subside.
Yeah.
Blue skies.
So almost what I almost match what people might see in me, and then I know like directly, because only you know and yourself, and only I know what's going on inside of myself, of just having that like, oh, nice, I've mastered it. Like it's, I've finally gone through that entire process where I can be at peace with my own body. You know?
Totally, because a lot of the time are we in some way like managing, or like you could even say suppressing an element of what's occurring under the surface, because we don't want it to spill out and maybe affect others. You know? Because like, for instance, you've got, you know, family, you've got a wife and young boy, and, you know, if you were every little problem that was internally were spilling outwards, that would probably not create a lot of
oh my gosh, bro.
safety and
I
clarity.
wish, man. My wife is way too intuitive, man. She knows right away. I can't hide anything from her, and you certainly can't hide anything from children. They feed off of like, they don't feed off of what you say first. They feed off of how you are first. And so he just like, he calls me out without even saying a word. I'm just like, oh man, he's taught me so much. Like I was sharing with you earlier, I'm just like, the ability to be present, but also to realize sometimes how much of my world I was kind of pushing on him. I'm just like, no, I need to get this done. Like I'm an adult. I got to do this and that, and then I'll be with you, rather than like just creating a container, being out of sight, taking care of that stuff. And if I'm ever around him or he can find me, then it's about him and his world. Because that's where we're at. He's 2 years old, so it's like. And so in those moments where it's like maybe there can be like a bit of that annoyance, you know, inside, but no, you can't see it on the outside. He can see it. And then I can feel it. And then when I look him in the eyes, I'm like, oh, sorry, dude. Like, you just want to play and you just want to love me. It couldn't be any purer than that. Like, let me come down to your frequency. No, let me come up to your frequency.
There you go.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, man. He's epic, man. Yeah, I can't beat the fat man. The wife and the son can't hide.
Full presence practice.
Yes. So, yeah, I think I've been lucky to have a partner and also like a son where they don't even actually say much and they still call me out, and I just have to like check in, because like I was saying, if I want to give that to like everybody in the world, of just like, you know, peace and understanding, and to feel safe to like to come with like who you really are, then of course I have to do that in my own household.
Yeah, put on your own oxygen mask first.
Bro, right? That's where the magic's at, man. You know, sometimes we'll put on retreats, and you watch like yoga retreats or like wellness retreats, and all these beautiful strangers come and they're sitting in circle and they're sharing the most intimate things about themselves and about their whatever, their situations, family relationships. And then you just watch them get so close and bind. You know, like these strangers like 1 hour ago and 2 hours later, they're like arm in arm and
Closer
hugging
than
and crying.
anyone they've ever known.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yes, man, this is what I want to see. But also, like, can we take this and put it in family units?
Yes.
Because a lot of this conversation's about family,
Yeah.
but they don't get to hear it.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So we don't actually get to work through it.
Well, this is it. And, you know, you just mentioned about like the piece with your son, and what was coming up for me there was like, you know, as a 2-year-old's lens in the world, I'd imagine would be is one of, you know, relative egocentrism. Like he's experiencing his world now in the moment, every moment. And so in every moment that you're not present, there's a, you know, a disharmony that's there. There's a misalignment, you know, and then one might, you know, what can often happen when we look at, you know, the reason why people are crying in a retreat many years later is because they felt not seen or not acknowledged, and they took that on and made it, oh, well, that must be because I'm bad, you know, or I'm not worthy of attention or whatever it is, you know, and which is like, you know, fair enough, and cognitively we can understand it, but like, I suppose you're in a process now of getting to rewrite that story. You know, you literally get to do it from the ground up.
Yeah, definitely refining it. You know, because I thought I was pretty badass. And then...
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then
I'll do this boop, every time we have a tea top up, so you know we're not just ignoring you there.
Yeah, definitely not. Having a tea moment. Yeah, definitely a chance to just refine it, because there are moments where you think you really have something under wraps, and then I think this is the greatest reflection to really
New
check in.
level unlocked.
Yeah, to really check in and just be humbled again, and just be like, you know, just always open to. Yeah, I guess that's the key to mastery, right? Is like knowing that you're not the master.
Yeah.
That's that damn paradox that keeps on coming up. Damn it. Oh Lord.
Love that. Come here to me. Like, I feel like there's so many like infinite rabbit holes we will go down.
Yeah.
And I want to just take like 2 minutes just to give a little bit of like a bullet point backstory of like your journey from childhood to here. Like what have been the main, I call it like, okay, the main 3 key like moments or periods in your life that like defined who you are today.
Wow.
In 2 minutes.
That's deep, bro.
That's us for the rest of the podcast.
That's deep. I love asking. I used to ask people the question when I didn't know them, like, hey, tell me your life from birth until now in 60 seconds. And it's just the most enjoyable thing to listen to. And you want 3 points that were pivotal in my life. Is that right?
Yeah.
3. I would say 3 points. One that I didn't know until maybe just recently was when my mom gave birth to me. I had jaundice, and back then they would take you away from your mother, and I didn't see my mother for 3 days from birth because they had me like in a capsule and under some lamps, and looking back, it might be connected, it might not, but just looking at our relationship is like it's different than mine and my brother's. I just feel more like apart, but still close to her, and I also didn't breastfeed because I didn't have that moment of latching on at the very beginning. So it's interesting to see like what kind of played out through that relationship, because I was taken immediately and just left isolated for 3 days as an infant.
Yeah. I think I'm pretty sure I have a similar story.
Yeah?
Yeah, maybe not like full isolation, but like a lot of, like a good bit of
Oh
isolation.
shit, do you got some other issues? Some mama issues?
No, I don't know.
Man.
I'll have to check in on that one.
Get you on my podcast if I ever have one. You got some mama issues,
Stop listening now, Mom.
But perhaps that our relationship's super epic. After a few speed bumps, especially during adolescence,
Sure.
which I'm super thankful for. So that would be 1. 2 would be the art of soccer, of football. You know, my dad getting me involved in that from an early age. He's a cat from like California, right? And in California, he's an American football player, track and field, and you know, even my uncles to this day would be like, "Why are you playing that pussy sport?" You know, like soccer and stuff like that. So my dad knew nothing about it, and when he lived in England, where I was born, he read about the first one of the first black players to be signed to a Premiership club or a top club. And so he got on a train to go check out the match, and it's Nottingham Forest. And he was so moved by the crowd and the energy in the game that he's just like, my son will play this. So when I got to America, they signed me up. And it was that, like, I think I started playing around 3-4 years old, and I played until, well, I still play a little bit now, but I played most of my life like dedicated, you know, going to university on the back of that with a full scholarship and having a semi-professional and professional spell. But before all that happened, it was my biggest philosophy teacher of life. I feel like it was the most amazing theater to practice. Like, it was like a perfect mirror to figure out who I was and also who I am in the group dynamic of trying to attain a goal. And it taught me so much. So definitely that was a pivotal moment. Even to this day, I can look back on it and be like, oh, okay, there's actually still some stuff playing out in terms of maybe like leadership or listening or seeing the dynamic of energy of like, how are we going to get everybody to like, believe in themselves again when, things look like they're going to hit the fan completely, right? And I know I still use that, and I can also see like parallels, or not parallels, but more like intersections of like yoga meeting the philosophies of football. So I guess that would be a perfect segue for my third. Would be yoga, discovering that it was like a bamboo seed, where they say it like you can water the seed for like, years, maybe a year or two, and nothing happens, and then all of a sudden it's like shooting
3 days or something.
Yeah, it's just like crazy. And I remember a coach in high school introduced me to yoga, and then I was like, cool, good stretching, and then thought nothing of it for over 8 years. And then all of a sudden someone else it was like slowly I would do class here and there, and then I remember being in one class with this guy named Stuart Gilchrist in London at a place called Indaba. And the class was an awesome class, and it was super strong. It's like he was saying things, and I was like, no fucking way, you can't do that. And I'm looking around, I'm like, oh my God, people are doing that. They're like handstands and all these hand balances and legs behind the head. And so I was humbled, but at the same time, the athletic part of me, the
achiever,
conditioned American part of me, of like 110%, I can do everything, I'm better than everybody, came up, and I can hear that inner chat of just like, I remember looking at people and be like, I could be better than that, I could be better than that one day, I can be better than that person one day. And then as I'm thinking this, the teacher, he's talking about the ego, and I'm just like, oh damn, that's me, this egotistical motherfucker. And I was like, check myself, and I was like, wow, I'm really giving my power away of just like trying to be better than everybody else rather than just being the best I can be, and being inspired by others rather than using that as a competition, because that'd be my plateau if I just want to be better than the next man, and I never get to tap into my unique like gifts. And it was in that moment I was like, whoa, man, this yoga. And then it just kept on going deeper and deeper, and to this day I'm still like, I just want to know about the arts and philosophies of yoga, and then they say it's like a science and an art, because the science is there, but you have to embody it yourself to see if it's actual true science for you. Which I like that approach and how it fits into everything. So I think I answered your
was pretty good.
Your 3 token questions.
Yeah.
That kind of like encapsulated birth until now.
It's pretty fucking good. I love that. I love the idea of like trying to almost beat someone else at their own game, and you'll only ever be like, you might become better than them at that, but you're still like gonna lose to your your highest potential, if you know what I mean. So it's like, and even what I think another element of that is that a lot of people probably in that class, or a lot of people in life, might also be chasing something that isn't true to them either. So if we're then trying to beat them at something that's also not true to them, it's like, bro, where's the fucking end?
It's the blind man following the blind man. We're screwed.
The lemmings off the cliff.
That's a perfect, yes, the lemmings. Wow, you brought that one back. Yes, man. Yeah, so there's a lot of checking in with that, just like checking in with myself of being, how authentic to myself am I being, and it is a constant check-in, because there's a fine line, or even a gray space of like being inspired and also just being yourself. Because me and a friend, we went down the rabbit hole of original thought, and we're like, what is original thought? It's just like, I think this is the thing as humanity moving forward and realizing this incredible power that we have just to have this unique imprint, but also be so connected in terms of I think just the way people want peace and love, you know, and to be seen, like you mentioned earlier. I was like, that seems to be a universal truth, to be seen. So yeah, man.
It's like this concept of like, I matter.
Yeah.
Or I am matter, you know? Like this.
Why is that, huh? Why do we feel like we need to be seen?
Well, it's
is
like
it that? And it's
if
like
a tree falls in the woods, you know, that kind of vibe. It's if nobody ever sees us, do we exist?
This is some good truth though,
This
man.
is
Because
like-
can we like surpass that? And what does it feel like to be surpassed that? We're like, I don't need validation. You know?
Well, this is it, because it's like kind of like in that experiment where the observer changes the outcome of the experiment. Okay, so what this is like, I can't remember the phenomenon, but basically by having someone observe an experiment, it produces a different result.
Yeah, like the slit theory for atoms being shot through a slit.
Yeah,
and it behaves differently.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
bro, I've been down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, sure. So I guess this was like, if there's consciousness observing something, does it make it different, change, better, worse? And therefore, it's like if the deep desire is to be seen or witnessed or observed, and to feel like we mattered, then if we're seeking that externally, then yes, probably there's going to be this desire to prove self and, you know, feel worthiness, love. But then again, it comes back to getting high off your own supply. It's like, can we observe ourselves in that?
Bro, this is a good one, man. Because I'm thinking of like, I always like to think of like nature versus nurture, and you know, is there something beyond that? But also, obviously, my little man and all of us as babies or children is like, we just want our parents to see us, right? And if not, then we're gonna raise hell and be like, you got to look at me. And I think it feels like either we're not developing fully as human beings, as adults, or this is just the way we are our entire lives of just like, hey, still guys, I'm here.
Yeah.
Especially parents. You know? That's a good one, man.
In what sense?
That's a good one to ponder.
Well, with your parents.
Yeah, with your parents, and then it extends out to other people as you meet them of like, hey,
you project your dad archetype onto your boss or your, you know.
See me.
Yeah.
Yeah, or just like the creator, if you know, like depending on what people believe in, is like even people want to be seen by whoever or whatever created us, created this existence.
Yeah, it's kind of tied into the like, because you know a lot of the work that I would do is around like the nervous system and, you know, survival physiology and emotions and like the different states of like, you know, at the moment we're in a parasympathetic relaxed state, we're chatting shit and drinking tea, you know. Then if you know someone shoots a gun outside, then we're probably going to fight or flight, and then if he comes in and points it at us, we're going to go into freeze. So it's like,
or fight.
The closer we are to
or fight.
Well, yeah, if you can keep it together, man, I'll be freezing. I'll be chilling in the chair. It's cold
with
over
your
here.
tea like that. Like, can I get you something?
Yeah, you can take the money, mate. So it's like the closer we are to perceive death in that sense, the more we, you know, go into survival mode, as it would be, the shutdown. Like the freeze response is the lizard, the amphibian kind of response from the brainstem. So it's like the closer we are, we believe, to dying, the more likely we are to go back to those survival responses. So if we're like chilling and we're loved and we're abundant and all is well in the world, then we're sweet, you know? And then if there's challenges and there's things happening that causing like perceived or actual and potential physical harm, we're like, all right, might need to get moving or fighting, you know? And then if it's like, I think I'm going to be abandoned and die, then it's like, oh, I'm going to pull out all the stops to avoid that. So that's like the child who feels unseen, you know? It's like, well, if I'm not seen, then I don't matter, and then I'm going to die. So let's figure this out and figure out what way I can, you know, get them to notice me, basically.
Yeah, showing all the unloved parts of ourselves.
So as a father, what have been the main, I'm not gonna say 3, I'm gonna say the main 4 lessons that Sage, his name is Sage, is an epic name. What are 4 lessons that Sage has taught you? We've already kind of discussed the, you know, presence practice and.
Okay, so you want some 4 fresh ones? Good. Mr. Sagey, what have you taught me? To have fun. Yeah, not take things so seriously. Like sometimes it would take moments for me to melt into like just playing and being a child again. Like literally just like diving into the imagination and like creating characters with him and running around. And because his biggest thing right now is like, and he's very demanding. He's like, boss, daddy, run. It's like, what? What do you mean? But then we just run, and it's the greatest, you know. And he's like, gets close to touching me, and then I'll just speed it up a little bit, and it's like the laughter and the joy, and it's just like, wow, are we really here just to play?
Yeah.
You know, and enjoy each other. And I think yes, I think this is the playground where we're supposed to do that, but we like to create problems to solve as well, because maybe we're getting a bit bored.
Yeah.
And now we're all taking it so seriously.
To your right brain.
So yes, yeah, right. So that would be having fun. Yeah. Have fun. He has this, when I watch him relating in the world, anytime we go to like a group scenario, he always steps back and he observes everybody. And then somehow he finds one person. So it won't be a group thing, he'd be like that one person, and then he'll just be like deep in with that person and then just develop that relationship. And that's it. And I think from that, what I learned is like more about like actually what I enjoy a lot as well. You know, I used to be that homie people would call up at university like, Mark, where's the party at? It's like, yo, we're partying and everything. And as I get older, it's more of just like I want that richer, more present and like this, just time like this to really unravel with somebody. So when it comes to party, I like smaller ones, and thus like my intention is to get people to connect as well, but also just offer something where we can all share together. And he's really showed me, kind of like added more wood to the fire of like what I really enjoy is those one-to-one times. And I think also I think kids are really good at this, and Sage is definitely a man that knows exactly what he wants. So it's like checking in and being like, hey, can you be a little bit more like Sage? Of just like, you know, I'm okay, whatever. It's like, no, I like this. I don't like this. I don't want this. Stop putting it in my face. You know, it's like so direct. And I think, you know, as you get older, obviously you start to learn the art of expressing yourself in more, and I guess a more pleasant or graceful etiquette.
Sure.
But I just love like raw truth.
Yeah.
You know, it fills me up with joy. Like when I meet somebody that some people are just like, oh, I don't know if I can handle that person. They're just like, they just say what they think. I'm like, thank you. Even if I don't agree with you, at least I know what you're thinking and what you're going through, because at least then we can meet somewhere rather than you just like fluffing it up for me.
Yeah, this passive communication.
Oh.
And it's very common, like, you know, you lived in the UK, you lived in England. Like, it's very much like that. It's like what I'm saying is like the opposite of what I'm thinking and feeling.
Yeah,
you know,
yes.
I didn't even know what I'm feeling, and I'm thinking this, but I'm saying that. And it's like, and you're supposed to like read under all of that, and if you don't, then I'll be angry with you.
Yes.
You know?
There is an element of that out in that part of the world. I remember when I first arrived back, and I think I must have bumped into somebody. It happened a few times, especially in London. And if they were British, they were like apologizing to me, like, "Oh, sorry, mate." And I'm like, "Man, this is weird." Like, if I was back home in the States, I'd be like, "Who? Hey, watch out! What are you doing? Like, get out of my space!" And it's like, but I love that. It's like there's such a charm to it as well, of just like keeping that etiquette. It's also very gangster, you know. It's like, oh yeah, always cool, but on the inside, you don't know what's gonna go down, you know.
I think yeah, like there's shadow and light sides. So, you know, there's a romanticized side, and then there's a lot of people pleasing. Yeah. In my experience, anyway, and a lot of unmet needs. You know, and not a lot of language to get those needs met.
Yes, that's so true, man. But to play with it, yes, I find the beauty in it. But at the same time, it's like I appreciate rawness.
Sure.
Straight up, like those are the people I like to keep around me the most.
Particularly with a son, you know, if you're trying to, you know, fulfill your fatherly duties, I'm sure it's helpful if he's actually speaking his mind, and you can be like, well, right, I can do that, instead of trying to, you know, psychic.
Yeah, it's true. And then also to like, if he's demanding that out of me, then I mean, if he's being that way with me, then I can be that way with him as well, and just be like, hey, just straight up and honest, and then we can meet somewhere. I think I've definitely exercised more of that, but also I think the fourth thing would be, I think that, if I can remember his name, this guy wrote The Prophet, Khalil. It's a beautiful poem about raising children, and that the child's not mine. It comes from me, but it's not me. he's not me. And I love that because it's like, that's exactly how I see being a parent, is how can I support him as much as possible rather than trying to mold him into what he's not. And it's an interesting, it's a very interesting experience, you know, being a father and knowing, you know, how much leeway to give them, but also give them enough so they can make their own mistakes, because you don't want your child to get hurt.
Yeah.
And then you start to sit into, oh, maybe that's what my parents felt like when, because you could think about all the crazy shit that you did when you were younger, and you're just like, damn, man, I don't even know how I'm surviving today.
Yeah.
I'm still alive. And you're just like, oh no, am I going to have to go through that too?
Yeah.
And just
they didn't have any of the personal development stuff, you know, there was none of the retreats and the fucking meditation.
Well, let's see. I hope that helps, you know. Maybe it doesn't.
Time will tell.
I can't put myself on the high horse
yet. Last stage in 20 years if he's on the psychiatrist chair.
Yeah, seriously though, right? You know, I remember sitting in circle and all the guys were talking about, like, you know, we're talking about our fathers and everybody had something to say. Like,
sure.
You know, it's like nobody had like, oh, perfect. So I'm like, all right, we're going to have this conversation when you go in, like, Pops, you know, when you did that, like that really fucked me up, man. It's like, all right. So I think it's like learning that whole level of support, and also how to offer that to others, you know, to give them that space and, you know, let them truly be who they want to be, and let them make the mistakes that they want to make, because that's the deepest learning, and that's what I appreciated, you know, growing up and to this day, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm down to listen, but sometimes I just got to do my thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got to feel what that fire feels like to know to not put your hand out the second time.
Yeah.
Or the fifth time.
Yeah. And then also, sometimes what's impossible for others may not be impossible for you.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally projecting our own
completely, bro,
capacity onto others.
Yeah.
So this is interesting with because obviously, like, breathwork is something that I'm quite involved in, and like guiding people through these journeys where, you know, I'm trained to read, let's say, the breathing patterns of someone, and like we'll take a 1 hour journey as a microcosm of someone's life and how they live. Okay. So we can see in that all the different ways that they breathe, therefore usually the way they live. So if they've got a very like intense activated breath, they're probably someone who lives life hard and then crashes and burns out. And I might judge that and say, oh, that should be different. Like, you know, I need to change that. And I might go in and try to like fix them, inverted commas. And actually one of the greatest teachings I've learned from that, which gets applied to everywhere, is actually trusting and giving back the power to everyone. Saying like the body has the wisdom, it knows where it wants to be, and I just need to create the conditions for it to actualize into that, instead of me knowing the way for this person. Even more so if I used to have an overachiever pattern. I say, oh, I know how to fix this, I had that, I'm an expert in this, and then it's even more toxic, because then it's even less allowing the body to do the thing. Now, there may be ways that I may have seen, oh, okay, you're at this fork in the road, maybe you could try, you know, just a gentle piece of wisdom, but it has to be their journey. Yeah. That's what I've really learned. It's like, you know, can bring the horse to water, but, you know, definitely can't make him drink it. You know?
I love that. I love that you have that awareness around it, you know, because it's like, even though you're holding space or even teaching, you're still the student all at the same time.
Sure.
And that's what makes you so great at holding space.
Sure.
Just hearing that's incredible insight, because it's like, what is that level of how much do I actually get involved, you know, and then how much do I wait for the invitation? And what I love what you said of just like just holding space so that they can go through it.
Yeah.
You know, to give them the power to be empowered.
Yeah, and also empowering someone to remain stuck for the rest of their lives if that's what they choose. You know, so it's like, because there's again in the, you know, obviously, you know, yoga community is the bridgeway into many of these kind of like healing modalities, and yoga is in many ways a healing modality. And, you know, there can be people who turn up to places like Bali seeking, inverted commas, healing, you know, and looking to overcome some of these, you know, terrible childhood experiences that they might have had, or life experiences. And it's like, again, it's about, you know, I believe trusting them that they have the ability to find that way, while also, as you said, helping and supporting them, which is, if we want to apply that back to, you know, your 2-year-old son, it's like you're trusting that he's got all the tools, that he's been born with everything he needs to make it through, and you're kind of, you know, guiding them a little bit. Oh, maybe don't step out in the road right now, you know, just little nudges here and there, but it's not like you're like trying to drive the ship from it all.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also like not only just trusting him, but trusting in, I guess, just where we come from, like that connection that we have to everything in the universe. Like I truly believe in that, and you know, on the grander scheme of things, I could never fathom. Right?
Sure.
And it's like the story of the I think it's from the Tao of the old man, the farmer, and his horses run away,
Yes.
and they're like, "Do you know which one I'm talking about?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, so unlucky," and he's like, "Maybe," and then the horse comes back with many horses,
And then he says, so lucky, maybe.
and then his son.
His son gets on the horse and falls off and breaks his leg, and they say, how unlucky, maybe. And then they come to conscript for the army,
Yep.
and they say, how lucky he doesn't get conscripted, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, who knows?
That's the answer, man, right there. Just playing in the middle,
It's just information, and we're just making stories out of it.
big time.
You know, so things are happening. I think it was that one that it was like a Jim Carrey interview where he was like on the catwalk at some fashion show, and this like E4 like presenter is trying to interview him and being like, you know, Jim, you're looking great. What's going on? And he's like, what? There is no me.
Yes.
Yeah,
I remember this one,
yeah,
man.
just,
She was
like,
so uncomfortable.
None of this
man.
is real. Things are just happening. You know?
I don't think many people understood that.
No.
But I was like, oh, I get you, Jim. I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do take things so seriously, don't we? It really is. To take our stories so seriously, we miss out on so much truth, and I think that's what, you know, a lot of what I'm interested in is like, where's the truth at? Or at least a cleaner lens, since I'll always be looking through my lens of like what the truth is underneath that. I just feel like I'm more available if I can sit with that rather than the stories that I'm always creating, which kind of just pop up out of nowhere.
This is where we get back to the, you know, who is my avatar versus who am I really? Because I feel like we're at a point in time where there's enough resources available that people are no longer living in survival mode, or like at least a portion of people. I know I'm coming from a privileged white background kind of thing, so like, but there's enough of a portion of people that they've got the resources and the time where you can go make, you know, fucking $1 million overnight in some shit coin in the crypto market kind of thing. The capacity for people to earn resources quickly, earlier than might have taken them 30 years before they can do in maybe 5 to 10, meaning that they've got now all this time to look at like, okay, well, what now? What else is there? You know, which maybe previous generations might have had, you know? So we're at a point where there's, you know, information abundant and there's resources abundant. And now we have time to, you know, to follow that big question of why.
Yeah.
You know? And so, you know, you mentioned yoga and about how you mentioned about how it's not just about what you're doing on the mat, but as a tool for life. Tell me a bit more about that, about the pursuit of like truth and freedom through that modality.
Yeah, that modality specifically is, you know, it's taken a while to unravel. Like I said, it was like, a few good stretches, and then I learned like, there's a whole philosophy and way of being. Wow, it has nothing to do with the asana and rolling out a mat at all. In fact, that's just a small part of it.
It's a precursor to it.
In a way, yeah, but also I feel like yoga is so malleable that it can be personally designed for every culture and whatever you're going through in any era, and to be open to that beautiful organic way that yoga can just do that. And so maybe people like today, like it seems to be a popular thing to do almost as the exercise or the asana, then so be it, because that leads you to another place where you're talking about the vagus nerve earlier,
drug,
just
yeah.
the nervous system, and just being chill and be like, okay, now what's really going on inside of me? Because we're also living in a world, and this is what I meant by like that deeper connection of the universe, of just like, there's this balance of people fighting for our attention with all of our devices, and it's like that noise is there, so it's harder to hear what's actually happening inside. So now we have these tools that are more prevalent than ever, that have lasted thousands of years, that people are seeking for a reason, because we
balancing tool for
exactly. Yeah, not only for us, but the entire like universe that we're connected to. And it's just like, here you go, this is what you'll need. And I guess for me it was never a discovery of healing until it started healing. Then I'm just like, oh wow, there are things that I need to face that will make me feel lighter.
Yeah.
You know, some more truths to face, whether it be like dealing with racism or relationships with family and or friends, or the way I think about myself. Even though I thought I was ever so loving to myself, there was definitely gaps of like not. And I suppose with yoga, because there's so many branches of yoga, but I feel like I really lean a lot towards what I know so far about Tantra yoga.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
You're downward dog toward tantric yoga.
You're too quick. Yeah.
I'll be a good dad someday. Got the dad jokes down.
You can't help it. You're so good at it, man. In the traditional sense of Tantra is to be embodied. Like, I am my body, I am my mind, I'm all of these things, and I'm here to embody life rather than like not be my body, not be my mind, and trying to connect with something that's just beyond me.
Yeah.
Which is good. I think it's great to have that connection, but at the same time, we're here in this body for a reason. So why would I try to escape it?
Yeah.
I want to embody it.
Yeah.
And so I like the practices of embodiment and enjoying these like incredible senses and sensations that like create my reality, and what can I do with it? And I just think it's profound that all of us have this incredible gift to be able to bring something out of thin air or the ether and then make it into matter, you know? Like the room that we're sitting in, the mics that we're talking in, all came from somebody's mind that was connected to something, because that's just the way things are. And it's just like, well, maybe we're just here to co-create and have a wonderful time creating gifts, things that we enjoy that other people might like too. And I'm just like, oh, okay, this makes more sense. And I think it's just like me, I'm trying to find more of the path in that direction of like, what do you want to create in this world? What do you want to enjoy in this world? And then people can use it later or not. And then just build on top of that. And I feel like, as well as we were talking about this earlier, about being in a place like Bali and seeing yoga off the mat, like the mat's never been rolled out, and there's a huge sense of like, you know, yes, there is a good huge sense of Hindu religion, but also there's elements of the yoga, of like the spiritual path, and the dance between dharma and adharma, you know, the light and the shadow, or purpose and non-purpose, and how do we approach those things, and it's in their very design, you know, Galangan and Kunangan and Nepi and Uga Uga, to look at our shadows and be at peace and forgive and then birth things out of that. It's like it's epic.
These are like Balinese ceremonies where they have like these, depending on the time, they've got like big ceremonies, like particularly Ogo Ogos, these like crazy big statues of like basically monsters that they're used to scare the demons out.
Look it up, OGOH, OGOH.
Yeah, it's pretty epic. It was like 2 weeks ago here, and it's it's really impressive, and it's like so funny to see something like that that's so, in a way, ancient. You know, it's so old, that tradition, but yet it's centered primarily around the banishing of the shadow, you know, and the exploring the dark, so that there can be peace in the light. Almost.
Yeah, I would rephrase it, not to banish it, but just to understand that that's part of the dance. You know, and then perhaps maybe it is. You know, like I feel like a lot of times we fight the shadow rather than see it as it's a friend that's trying to help us into the gift or the light. You know, like if I want to learn patience, and patience is, you know, the shadow of impatience is going to teach me how to be patient one day. And then perhaps one day I'm so patient that I don't even need to use the word anymore, and I'm just in the place of timelessness. And I feel like they honor that dance to this day. Like you said, it's like it's ancient and it still works, which I think is amazing that it's still relevant. And what are we creating today that can potentially be still relevant? And I'm super like excited to be in this era, not only because it's the only thing I know, but also it's like there's so many people here like going in that direction of just like, how can I serve? And you know, what is my spiritual my spirit craving to create, you know, or co-create. And I love seeing that with so many people. And like you said earlier, just like we're literally in an era of abundance. And it's, you know, it's probably happened before in the past that we're not quite sure, but like definitely it's happening now, and we get a chance to innovate, because, you know, just a few generations down, it wasn't like that. You know, there was plenty of war and famine and, you know, starving people, and now we've knocked those on the head pretty much. You know, and it's about to be like completely global, and what are we going to do with this incredible amount of time?
The universal high-class problem.
Bro, it's epic, and it's like maybe we get a taste of like the potential that I'm talking about, like as a society, you know, as we start to truly each other nicer and love each other and trust one another and just come back to that again. I feel like, you know, if Atlantis or this golden age did exist, I think that's what it would look like.
Yeah.
Where we would just be like, in our inner circles we have that, but to have that globally where it's just like, yo, I trust you, I know I'm taken care of, all is abundant, then what? And that's worth living for me, man. I'm just like, I'm sticking in. Even like crypto feels the same for me. It's like, it's a new system where I feel it's more level played and it spreads the wealth. And I'm super happy about that because I already know the old way. I was born into it, and I don't feel like everyone's being served.
Sure.
So like, if this is going to be the next best thing, whether it's a step towards something where everybody can have it, then great.
It's almost like, as we'll say, consciousness is unleashed and there's more like of that energy being present, though, like naturally, you know, as the light must emerge, so does the dark. You know, we've got the dark side of all of this, which is like the hyper addiction to the technology, really, you know, and about how, you know, you could say 10, 15 years ago, like the smartphone didn't even really exist, you know, and now it's
Crazy.
like a thing,
Yeah.
you know, it's like the thing. It's like, I'm really curious to see how that does evolve. And as those two paths almost diverge in some ways, you know, I'm wondering if there can be really like full global adoption of that, we could say, new way where there is that trust, that deeper trust, or if it kind of becomes more of a two tribes, you know, situation where we've got people who go this way and they live in smart cities or whatever it is and do their thing and become half robot or whatever. And then people who live in the woods and the forest and, you know, dance and be happy.
I can see where you're going.
And occasionally check Instagram, okay?
Yeah, I'll be with you in that village. Yeah, man, I agree with you. I think it will coexist as far as I can see into the future. You know, I don't know if one will ever dominate the other. But yeah, I also feel like technology will have a beautiful way of it could be a path to enlightenment in a funny way, because nothing like the algorithms and things that watch us know us better than ourselves at times.
Yeah.
And it's like, if we had that data to be like, oh wow, okay, I really behave like that. You know, it wipes away those stories that we were talking about, and there's tremendous insight. And I feel like sometimes I feel like as human beings we're taking a huge detour to just get back to where we came from. You know, it's like, because everyone's like, you know, I know there's a lot of debate about like food, and what a privilege to have debate about like what food should we have, because now we have like everything from everywhere.
Yeah.
But also just like how uncommon it is just to eat food from the earth that just grows and then you eat it.
Yeah.
That's madness, man.
What are you talking about?
Yo, man.
That's a conspiracy.
We're in such a state. We're in such a state. But yeah, I feel like I guess it's
I know, I'm here with my coconut. I'm pretty set.
Yeah, man. So I'll be interested to see like where things go. And then, you know, you're talking about Sage, and I think about his future. I'm like, I call it like his generation are gonna live in God mode. Like, what I mean by God mode is like the ability to create a lot of things that nature already creates, like the ability to like CRISPR and changing genetics, and, you know, like creating a human being from, you know, cells, and we kind of do these things now, but not to the level that the next generation, where a 2-year-old's going to be like, I don't know, let's put him in his 20s or 30s, like, and we just look at our lives.
Give him a robot arm.
Robot arm, bro. It would already be organic material. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, right.
And then a VR and everything else like that, like virtual reality, and then we get into that whole cosmic conversation of like, what is real, and are we actually in a simulation or not? And it's like, wow, to think about his versus like what's mine been so far, where you're like, come on, smartphones they just become like the hip thing in the past like 20 years, like less than that, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow, so then what's it going to be like for him? What is he going to have?
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is moving at an amazing and tremendously fast pace. And also to have AI and robots.
And then I think it's like this classic thing of like the singularity and also the all-encompassing. Like, think it was like a Matthias de Stefano. Do you know who he is?
No.
He's the guy who like can remember past lives. So he's
Okay.
got all the downloads.
Yeah.
And he did a few podcasts with like Aubrey Marcus and stuff. But
Okay.
he talks about like he breaks down basically the 9-dimensional realities. Okay. And like so we live in a 3-dimensional reality. We talked about 4D, 5D, and like all different ones. And he said like basically the 1-dimensional reality is just like it's just one. Everything is it's just one thing. Okay. And then the 9-dimensional reality is like everything you could ever exist and ever imagine in the universe is ever.
Yeah.
But actually the 1D and the 9D actually become the same thing.
Right.
So it's like the singularity of a single cell is the universe. Like
Yeah.
it's all there in the drop of water. kind of
Right.
thing,
Yeah.
You know? So this is where it's like as it gets more and more expansive and we have all these options and all these things, we even speak to food and like we have everything. And yet coming back to just the simplicity, I think will become even more once the, craving for and desire for more choice and variety and expansion has been exhausted time and time again. I'm sure there'll be a coming back to okay, well, what actually matters, like what's here,
You're making me think of Alan Watts when he's talking about like, imagine if you're God, and it's like you can create whatever you want, and then, you're getting everything that you want, and you just get bored. So then you like surprises. So you start surprising yourself. I'm just like, no way, man. Oh, what are we doing? So yeah, man. I feel like yoga has a great way to just ground us again with all these tools, these ancient tools. And I think what's also interesting is like the things that I see popping up these days and knowing a bit of yoga. I wouldn't say I know it all about yoga, but just knowing a little bit is like you see it popping up anyways, even though the other person may have not known anything about yoga, but it came through them and like, hey, here's the design, then we're going to breathe this way, or we're going to do this exercise here. Or, let's, what did we do today?
the NSDR, non-sleep deep rest.
That's Yoga Nidra.
Yeah, it is, exactly.
But maybe that person never did Yoga Nidra, but it's just like...
Yeah, but they just put a scientific name on it kind of thing.
Bro, and it's like it's available, know, whether we got it from the scriptures or not.
Yeah, it's just giving it a sexy new sticker kind of thing.
You think so? He's never done it?
It's for a modern technological age. NSDR sounds like more like nerdy than Yoga Nidra, which to the layman they're like, nah, fuck that, you know what I mean?
But to my point is like, if the person has never done Yoga Nidra but came across this kind of information, I think it's incredible that it came across without even knowing the ancient scriptures.
Totally,
it's already been done.
They would just say, oh wow, Andrew Huberman just invented this great new thing.
Yeah, or he discovered I would say.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think there's nothing for us to worry about. It's always going to be there, like in the ether for us to pick up.
Well, some of the best artists just, they just sample and remix.
Is that right? You're talking about yourself.
You don't know how many of these songs I've heard, like, classic, like, rap songs and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That I'll hear, and I'm just like, oh, that's such a great song by that guy. And then, like, I hear the original, which is, like, a 60s or 70s, like, old school track. I'm like, oh, they stole the fucking chorus. No way, they sampled it. You know what I mean?
We are the generation of the remix, aren't we?
Yeah, it's... It was particularly, I think, in that hip hop age, a lot of classic hip hop, from the 90s and stuff that people would say, like, oh yeah, like, of course, Tupac and Biggie and like on and beyond, but a lot of it is actually sampling, like you've got, who is it? And of course, Kanye's. I'm trying to think, there's a few different Bill Withers tracks, like No Diggity is Grandma's Hands.
Yeah.
I just found it out like a year ago. I remember hearing it. I was like, oh shit, like that song that everyone, like the whole world knows No Diggity.
Yeah.
And it's Bill Withers, Grandma's Hands. Like that vibe, I'm just like, oh. It just feels like it's like, it takes away something from the remix because I almost thought that they made up that beat.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm feeling like it's, we're making it more, not accessible, but why fix it when it's not broken? Because it's like, there's the birth of all music that inspired the next genre of music, right? Yeah. And then there's our generation. We're like, well, there's so many that's already been done. Let's just remix it. Yeah. It's kind of same, but just kind of like refining it or concentrating it further.
Sure. I just think it's something about some kind of little like hat tip to the OG,
right?
They throw in like Grandma's Hands, just like a little boop in there, and it's like, oh, okay, and so, it makes people like,
yeah, I see you, ancestor.
Yeah, exactly, just a little something. And I think because like we were saying this just before we turned on the cameras, like what is truly unique? You know, are we all just repeating the same stuff again and again? Because like, is there such a thing as original thought? You know, and it's a very, you know, that can be applied to many things, but music obviously is one of them. And there's many times where I would be writing something and I'd recognize after I'd write it and go, oh wow, that's epic, you know?
Yeah.
And I'd leave it sit, and then like a month later I'd be like, oh shit, it kind of sounds like that and that. But like not enough that I was ripping it off, but like there's a similarity. And I think if I can own that similarity and be like, okay, cool, I'm influenced by things, instead of trying to make something that's truly 100% unique and original, then it's actually like, is it adding to the global stock of artistic, you know, works, instead of like trying to literally create something that's entirely 100% like never been done before, unique.
Yeah.
Because we're all learning from something. Like,
Absolutely.
if we apply that to life, then it's like our life experience is shaped consciously or unconsciously by the experiences we've had. Therefore, like what we're talking about right now is based on life experience to a certain degree. You know?
Absolutely, yeah.
Even if we're, you know, full channel download, it's got to come out in a language which we've learned somewhere, you know, and it's also got to come out through maybe analogies that we've come across. You know, for you, it's probably through the modality of yoga. For me, it's me probably talking about music or the nervous system or whatever it is. And I suppose that's uniqueness. It's taking universal concepts that have been learned in unique ways through a life tapestry, and then shared now through in ways that, you know, in this collection have never been done before. And that's what's original.
Yeah, I think so too. There's that unique imprint, but also it's like honoring like the people before us, and it keeps that thread together of like the past to the present to the future, just like everybody's being touched. And
not like a Michael Jackson way.
No, not at all. I knew it. I could feel it coming, man. It was funny. I was just like, I feel it coming, man. If he can't help himself.
Okay, it's a good time for a tea break.
Yeah, for sure, right? I heard it's funny you said that, because I saw a little conspiracy. There's only a clip of Michael Jackson, and it was Piers Morgan, I believe. He had like the Jackson brothers on his show. I haven't seen the whole thing. I might have even like looked it up, but I couldn't find anything. But they were talking about how Michael Jackson was actually looking to buy up like amusement parks and do all kinds of like this huge business plan. And they have his like they have his voice on the telephone call, and it sounded like, because I only saw the highlights, and you have to be careful of just reading the highlights of that. They're saying, you know, he was on to something, and then they just created this whole story to like take him under so that he couldn't, because what happened is like a bigger corporation came and did exactly what he said, and just bought up everything and tarnished his
reputation,
his name, his reputation. And I was like, ooh, could it be some truths coming out?
Well,
Who knows,
let's
man?
not, like, here, mate, like the media never lies. So if the media said that's what he did, then that's what he did, you know?
It's also respecting if it did happen, you know, to those people that's, you know, that they get their chance to heal.
Totally.
But it's like we live in that world of like, fuck, what's truth?
What is truth?
You know, especially with like what do we have now where you can I don't remember the terminology, but where you can use somebody else's voice, and now you can start to use a deep fake.
Yes.
Bro.
It's crazy shit.
What?
Like create videos.
That's what Sage is gonna grow up in. We're just like, and we're living in this now, but it's gonna be refined where you're just like, what is, can I trust what I see in video? You know? And pretty soon, can I trust what I see in person? Because you might be AI for all I know.
Yeah. Like, imagine bullying in schools. They're going to be like, hey, I have a video of you, like, pulling your pants down. It's like, that's not me. It's like, prove it.
Oh, I love it, man. I love you, Pete.
It's never a dull moment, for sure.
Yeah, no.
I love how I just was reflecting there for a moment. How we were really touching into something deep there, like really going down and like getting into like the essence of like what does it mean to be a human, and then it's like pedophile jokes.
But this is what we're talking about, right? It's just like, it's a play, man. We can't take ourselves that seriously. We can get as deep as we want, but on the real, like, dad jokes is what it's all about.
Yeah,
That's the meaning of life, everybody.
It's almost like we're down in this, like, you know, the abyss of the ocean, but at any point, like, you just touch one button and the life jacket goes back up to the surface level.
Oh, that's what you are.
So what's next on the horizon for you?
What's next on the horizon? I think it's continually fatherhood, this transition of fatherhood. Of just like, I feel like the old me is, parts of me have like died off, which is great. And just like I can expand further into what it means to be a father and a husband. And so I'm definitely expanding into that. That's what's next. And then I feel like, you know, I've really enjoyed teaching yoga and the vessel of sharing through it, of, you know, asana practice and things like that. And I feel like it's time to start to organize everything and share it online or in books or whatever. So then it's like, it's out there, the avatar or whatever. And then perhaps move into another vessel after I've like created something that's more, I guess, solid or concrete that people can come back to. Because I'm really, I don't know what it's be. Yeah, that's stardust, man. Yeah, just let it go, and see what comes up from that. I feel something's coming up, but I don't know what it is. And I do love vessels that have these like incredible immediate impacts. You know, like breath work, yoga. They all have these incredible impacts, and so does music. And it's like, it's something as a child I've always wanted to do. Is just learn and spend more time in the world of music. And I don't know what my expression in the music would be. But I think as that comes up, that'll be my expression, because there's nothing that speaks to the soul more than music, you know? Frequency and vibration, baby. I'm just like, I'm gonna play with that a little bit before I go.
Well, now's the time.
Ow! He's pulled out the guitar.
I might spring this on him. So, I'm not going to expect you to do Freddie Mercury on it, but let's just see what comes through. What kind of vibe you feel?
Bro.
What kind of feeling?
Be careful what you wish for on this podcast, everybody. He's ready.
What kind of vibe you feel?
I don't know, man. Just
laid back, upbeat. Funky.
It doesn't matter. Just I feel like we're already tapped in. Like,
sure.
Oh, Lordy Lord. That's beautiful. Yeah. Well,
let the tea speak. We're sitting here on the podcast, getting down. We're gonna let it reap. Man, pulling strings, pulling my heart. Let's see what comes out as I start. Keeping it rated G. Little spoken word for you and me. I feel like it's evident, all the things that we go through and we share. Everything is worth listening to, and we impair the damage, but also we grow from that. And then there's the soil, and we grow from a seed, and then we come into that. I'm gonna slow this down, you just keep this up. So what speaks to me is irrelevant, but what gets me going is this ever passing love that flows through me. I guess this is how we gonna do it. To jump into the rhythm and pursue it. So you ask, what am I going to pursue when I get down on my knees? I'm asking please back in the day, and now I feel like I'm at ease. I go down the rabbit hole and then I come back above. Sometimes I use the flotation called Pete to get me back into the fun. So now it's getting grooving and moving, so no thought is encasing everything that comes through me. So sometimes I just let the genius go through me, put a pen into paper, or just come out of my mouth so my tongue is as sharp as a saber, but let me go. I take a breath, maybe take a sip of tea, feeling that sweet aroma, and just let it be. I sip and I steep and I go and I reap all the goodness around me. It's like abundance is overflowing. So let's get down to get knowing of where I really come from. It's more of a remembering. And I sit and meditate on that, and I'm in gratitude kind of place. And I look at my face and say, wow, how did I get such an incredible body to be so profound? I get to enjoy it for a lifetime and ride it out to the end. And then everybody says, that was Mark. Let's begin. A new beginning comes in, we call it Sage, he's the next generation, and he'll be doing his thing and enjoying himself. So let's let it go, let's be at grace. It's time for Pete to sing and bring in that chorus. Passing the mic.
Oh God, 'cause we're just figuring it out now. But nothing is original anyway.
Yeah, baby.
We're just figuring it all out now. And we don't know where we'll be, but I'm sure we'll find a way, yeah. Yeah, we're just figuring out now. And nothing is original anyway. So if you are liking what they say, then this way is available to you too. You just gotta figure it out. You got all the tools and now you just gotta figure it out. Because it's all inside you now. You just got to figure it out. Because you're on the path and we already figured some of it out, but we're gonna keep on figuring that out all the way.
Yeah, baby.
There it is.
I love it.
That is the way we finish with a bang.
I love it, man.
Mr. Laws, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, man.
That was epic, right on
Love
the
you,
hour.
Pete. That was awesome.
If people would like to find you and your wonderful creations, how might they do that?
I think best place might be Instagram, man. At Marc, M-A-R-C, Laws, L-A-W-S-I-I.
Marc Laws II.
That's right.
Remember the name.
After my pops. That's
He's
all
here in
another
Bali
story.
now.
He's landing in
Coming
3 hours, yeah.
3 hours, okay.
Yeah, man. So it's going to be epic to get
Beautiful
the
reading.
3 generations together after 4.5 years. Never met my son, his grandson.
Looks like he's going to get some lessons too.
Bro, yeah. We all are. I'm so excited, man. So blessed. Pete, what a privilege, man.
Awesome. And thank you for the tea as well. We're going to finish this off.
Yeah, man.